And the second film in our series of Essentials of Learning let's first take a look at what can inhibit our assimilation of memory and its recall. Number one, anxiety, notably fear. Most of us have a fear of the unknown. It's a survival mechanism to keep us mindful of danger. Stress hormones can facilitate learning to a point in the same way that burning ourselves after touching something hot will be a constant reminder to keep away from fire or heated objects. Some degree of fearfulness is natural and normal, but rationalizing our fear is an effective way of controlling it. If we believe we are capable of keeping ourselves safe under most circumstances, where danger is merely perceived and not real, we can keep our feelings of fear in check. Fire and brimstone will not follow the giving of an incorrect answer. Stress can affect recall in much the same way as anxiety. It's a brain space thief, and whilst you may be able to recall forevermore every last detail of how you felt during an exam because your stress hormones were pumping full pelt, this is not useful while you're actually taking the exam. Plenty of good quality practice will reduce the stress of the situation. It goes without saying that fatigue is not a good state to be in for memory recall when your brain is urging you to rest it. Beware of chronic or clinical fatigue creeping up on you, which can build up over time. This is an unhealthy state to be in and needs to be kept in check. When you're feeling emotional, this can feel like your brain is in processing mode, similar to when your PC starts whirring and it slows down because it's dealing with some other task in the background. Again, it can help to try to rationalize your emotions to reach a conclusion and peace of mind, or visualize yourself packing the problem into a box and placing it on a table for reopening and exploring later. Lack of sleep, similar to fatigue, except that fatigue is not always due to lack of sleep. It could be food or exercise related. Sleep cannot be stored for later use. You can get plenty of sleep one night, then the next very little sleep, and one doesn't cancel out the other. You will still feel like you've had very little sleep the next day. Engage in the usual self-care steps to help you prepare for a night's sleep when you need to. When you're confused, if in an exam situation the fire and brimstone will not reappear if you have a genuine need to ask a question. Just one. Alcohol affects memory in ways that you won't even be aware of because you'll have forgotten that you had that alcoholic drink the night before, so you won't relate the two. I frequently lecture away from my hometown and have to stay in hotels where it's perfectly reasonable to sit and relax in the bar area after travelling some distance. Where else is there to sit on a comfy sofa next to an open fire? There's usually a bar there. I know for sure that even 1 unit of alcohol will affect my performance the next day, which is fairly intensive with an eager group of learners watching my every move and listening to my every word, or at least they should be. I want to be at my absolute best in that situation, not having to stare into space at intervals to retrieve the correct words to explain concepts that I am ordinarily highly familiar with. Don't drink alcohol the day before or on the day of an exam. It could lose you valuable marks or time as you stare into space. Poor diet, little explanation needed here. Your brain needs sufficient nutrition to function in much the same way as a car needs petrol. You can push a car that doesn't run, but it's far less tiring to have it functioning as it should. Depression, like emotion, will take up brain space. It's a clinical condition and little can be done to alleviate it, but it may be possible for sufferers to practice changing their state or how they are feeling at intervals, enough to allow for focused study. Certain medications can affect memory. You'll have to check with your medic on that. And with regard to retention and recall, which is the greater challenge? Is it easier to gather and store the information or to recall it? I think the ease is in the gathering. The answer to this is in the study techniques and how you physically prepare for exams, although recall is psychologically rooted in how the learner feels about their performance. The bottom line is you can't take out what you haven't painstakingly put in. We've covered this in an earlier presentation, but it really is a proven technique for the retention of information that requires later application of it. The illustration on the right takes me back to my childhood when storytelling was often very theatrical. And you can see in this instance how focused it is and how the much older person with the wealth of personal experience and practice of expressing themselves, their lack of self-doubt or confidence, how they would make the best storytellers. Because their personal touch is added together with the ability to portray a range of emotions to eager listeners. And that's why soaps are so popular, I would imagine. See also the pets in the picture and how being outside might invoke different physical feelings of the sun or wind. Experiencing a topic helps to fix it in the memory. Contextualizing your reading material enhances recall of it, and this means that, for example, if you take your textbook or your notes to a horse show or teaching session and watch the horses moving, you can see the muscles contracting and relaxing. The body comes to life with so much more information to be had. Taking a vocational course is not about training for textbook recall. It's all about applying that knowledge, formulating professional opinions, professional reasoning skills, and the more you can get out and work that knowledge, the better the recall of it. Controlling anxiety, again, state of mind will affect recall. And I'm not talking about being bitten hard by a horse and being better able to readily recall how old the horse was that bit you if you happened to be covering dentition at that time. But thorough preparation is the best controller of anxiety levels. Related to this, visualize a confident recall and you may be able to convince your brain that recall flows effortlessly out of you, so that on the day of an exam you will feel a lot more anxious than you actually look. And reading around a topic will improve your fluency. In particular, reading journal articles is effective because the information is carefully considered and measured. You will come across terminology that you may need to look up, or it will lead you to look at other related sources of information. Journal articles can be skimmed and you can be selective about which sections of the content are pertinent to the topic you are studying. Find articles that are easy to read, or you'll get buried in them. In my Facebook group, I have a library of articles in the files section of the navigation relevant to the horse, saddle and rider. Skim through them. I've made the job a bit easier for you because there is a great collection all in one place. Create questions and test yourself. It's possible to do this during lectures and practical demos. Just scribble down a couple of questions as you go. Then you have a bank of them to work through as revision, or you can swap them with others. Get into character. You can emulate a person who is confident at what they do and act like you are performing exactly as they do on the day. Think about how they would be or behave if in your situation, and just get into their character. Or take your most memorable achievement and recall how blissed out you felt about achieving, and then get into that character. I love this photo on the right. My husband is a champion American football ex-player and head coach. On this day, the team he coached had won every match that season to become regional champions. And it was a sizable region, which was half the country. And judging by the performance of previous seasons prior to when my husband hadn't been their head coach, the team were absolutely not expecting to win every game they played, nor the final. Anyway, it's enough about him. The player looks immensely, genuinely proud of his medal as he poses for the camera. He's truly in character in that photo, and he will always be able to get into character when he thinks back to this moment when confidence in his abilities were never in doubt. If you watch a film about a topic, you can watch someone else applying that information. There is a visual of reading around a topic. In much the same way as journal articles, professional film is edited and you only get to see the most relevant content. For visual learners, this will cement the concepts for them. Speaking out loud as you read, probably not in a public place, or viewing, will add auditory input and will enhance the learning experience. Finally, if you apply information as soon as possible after learning it, you will immediately feel confident about applying it because it will be fresh in your mind and you will have the memory of feeling confident, which links to getting into character. When you practice straight away, you begin the revision process too, and this can make you feel good about your studies. To summarise, learning styles are varied and based on seeing, hearing or doing. Techniques impact on memory, retention and recall. Individuals who determine their preferred learning styles optimise their study time. And utilising optimal individualised techniques in the long term enhances confidence for exam preparation and performance. In the next series of presentations, we will explore time management.